Hey, Cape Fled Stories, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Uncle Stan Show. Ja, ons het nou ons eie logo, ons eie brand en alles in die studio in. So welcome to Cape Fled Stories edition of Uncle Stan Show. With me in the studio tonight, I've got Faizal Said from the Faizal Said Show. He's also very well known, in the communities because he's an activist as well as he is a TV host and also, a philanthropist. So, guys, please do join us and be part of this broadcast. And yeah, Wie is Faizal?
Most people go get up in the morning,
Yeah.
feed to the kids, drop them at school, drop the kids again, feed the kids, and all of that. That component is missing in my life. So I need to start there.
Mm-mm.
I've perhaps chosen a little bit of a different path. The first part of my life, I wanted to look after my mother.
Yeah.
As you said, you followed all of that.
Mm-mm.
But for me, looking after my mother wasn't going home every day to another home and coming back. For me, I dedicated my life to her and to her well-being. Strange enough, I was 42 years old 2.5 years ago when she passed away. And I then saw the world totally different. So I believe that activism today is related, it's a natural inclination that just comes up because I used to, as a young child, walk past every animal, every bird, pick it up.
Mm-mm.
If it was dead, my mother said I would wrap it up
Mm-mm.
and bury it.
Wow.
I would stop the car in the middle of the road, stop the traffic because there were dogs walking over the road, causing lots of chaos and stuff like that. But I think that came in from childhood already. And I know that we're going to chat about our mothers a bit later, but I think we're defined by the people that brought us up. And I don't think we sometimes pay a lot of tribute to them. Or we think we just arrived.
Mm-mm.
We didn't just arrive. Our ideas and philosophies and ideologies were shaped by those that molded us.
Yeah, yeah. And you are so right. You know what? When your mother passed away, another thing opens up. You see the world completely differently. It's like, your mother was always there.
Correct.
But once the day when your mother leave this earth, that last breath that she take, that actually it's another type of a hurt. I can't explain, but I can relate. And I think that is something that also it brings out another side of humanitarian inside of us. It's just like almost, my mother's not here anymore. She did good. So now it's my job to do good. It's my job to continue her legacy. And I think that is something that many people don't understand, especially if I look on the Cape Flats, our young people. We have that self-respect. We have lost that self-respect and that respect for our mothers, for our fathers. And that is something that I feel has lost. It has left our communities. And because of that, a lot of other things has happened. Well, if I listen to how a 13-year-old speaks to his mother, I realize, but we are doing something wrong here. It is like these youngsters speak to their mother as if their mothers het is hulle vriende, and in some cases also with teachers it as well. I mean, we are almost the same age, and when we grew up, you were forced to have respect for other people. How do you find it? Have things really changed in this country? Is it the law? Is it, a lot of people like to blame the government, but I feel it goes back to the home. We have lost a lot of values in the house, and we need to pick it up, and we need to sort of, put it back into our families, because the problems that we are experiencing is because of we're not really doing our job as parents. And that is just something that I've picked up. I'm not saying everyone, but I think we have a big issue where we have given our right to raise our children to the government. What is your thoughts around about that?
Stanley, it's an interesting question because, when I was CEO for a broadcaster for more than 10 years, right? A broadcaster which I helped start, which then operated in most of Africa. And in my time as CEO, the one thing you'll hear your shareholders and your business partners talking about is the minute the rand changes, the minute the recession starts, and then they start having conversations with you. But I was a person that never focused on what was going on around me. I know this might sound really strange, but I never focused on what was going on. Meaning that if people said the country was in recession, or there's no jobs right now. I would walk right past it and say that I must try my best with what's in my hand at the moment. So I must look at what's in front of me right now, use that to move to the next place. And so if you ask me about South Africa right now, I do recall my mom's conversations with me saying all the time that things are deteriorating. She also used to tell me that the world is a filthy place and therefore she wanted to leave. She wanted to leave, she was ready to leave. She told me that I won't understand, but that's another discussion. But every day, Stanley, as you're looking at it right now, let's just take South Africa because you mentioned South Africa. I've traveled extensively, thank God, and He's given me that opportunity to do that. And when you travel, you see a lot of things and you understand the world a bit differently. But of all my international visits, and I'm leaving the country next week again, and of all my international visits, I would stand on the other side and think to myself that I need to come back home because South Africa is a fantastic place. If only we could sort out the crime and one or two other issues, but everything else is going good. I've seen the worst infrastructure around the world. I've seen the worst type of people, and I really believe we have something good going in South Africa. But it's us. It's about us tying those little bolts and tightening those screws and deciding as a nation whether we're going to work together or not. We still find a serious prevalence of racism. I mean, look at the comments you're finding on social media. Anything we post today, people are still talking racism. They're still shooting each other down all the time. Yes, perhaps the Freedom Charter and the Constitution had guided into a certain space so that you have certain thresholds that you can go to in South Africa right now. But I think innately as South Africans, we need to catch a wake-up call and realize that we've got a lot of things going that other people in the world don't have. I mean, if you go, we've been Philippines and all of that type of thing. Every time it's either a huge mudslide or it's a major this and it's a major earthquake and it's all of these issues. Then if you look at the Middle East, it's complete chaos on the other side. So we have a lot going. But I think South Africans are fast asleep. We're more involved with trying to fight each other instead of trying to build each other.
That's right.
And I think, I'm an advocate for building each other.
Definitely. And you've mentioned something, if you look on social media, I just spoke to somebody now. I don't even want to go on TikTok. TikTok is, I think Satan wrote that application. And that's the problem we have.
Well, people have been asking me, why am I not on TikTok? I've been asking you, what am I supposed to do there? It sounds like people are tick in the first place.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they call it. We shouldn't be calling it TikTok, but TikTok instead. Because in the end of the day, I come from a serious media background. So to see people putting on a track and jumping it about on one spot and other people laughing at that, I just can't get it, Stanley. Someone needs to tell me what's going on TikTok.
and I think, I've seen the last couple of weeks how people have been fighting on TikTok. And that is actually, you have professional guys that are, op TikTok, they're fighting each other. But I think, just what's happening, what has happened in the last couple of days, you are very much familiar with Serene Aesop's case. You've been an advocate for her. And the one thing that people are very much upset, and maybe this is a good time also to talk about this, why haven't this family really given us, a statement? I mean, we need to realize the woman was found just a couple of hours ago. She needs time to recover. She needs time to heal. She's been through a lot of trauma, I mean, if somebody should kidnap me for 3 weeks and I'm in a strange place, you can think for yourself, what would it do to us? And we need to be patient. Like you mentioned, I don't think we as South Africans are patient. That is the one thing that is missing in us. We're not patient. We're not willing to start over. We're not willing to build. We just want things like ready-made. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think we need to change and to shift our minds so that we can be more of a, a positive people.
Right, yes. So it's interesting that, and I don't want to go too deep into Shireen's matter, but I think it is relative right now as we speak. I think people around the country, if not beyond that, he's talking about it at the moment. And yes, I have been in touch with the family all the time and trying to understand and see what I think one of the first social media posts actually came as a viewer advisory from my show, I think. And Stanley, the interesting thing is, I'm sitting where you are sitting right now, and that is that in due course, I suppose they are going to put out a statement. I think that was said in some papers today, but it's about waiting for that statement. I also am aware of something else, and that is a lot of the kidnapping matters that we've worked with over the years. It was very far in between, but suddenly now we see an increase in what's going on. But most of these matters, when people are sent back, they're either threatened, families are threatened, or the victim is threatened that if they say anything, we're going to do it again, or we're going to come back and kill you. We don't know what those circumstances, I'm assuming at this point. But whatever those circumstances are, I think you're right in saying that people need to be given an opportunity and a chance to prepare a proper statement.
That's right.
And then state. But there are people that are saying, well, she orchestrated it and all of those type of things. I think it's okay to say all those things because you have the right to your opinion, but I do think there's an accountability for your opinion, meaning that I cannot say that Stanley Jacobs has 15 children that nobody knows about. I must be able to substantiate that. I must be able to, we need to ask each other for the proof. In today's time, Stanley, we have to ask each other for proof all the time.
Yeah.
So every time someone's going to make a wild statement on Facebook saying Stanley's corrupt or Faizal's corrupt, we need to be able to say, I'm quite happy to go with it, but provide me the proof. And right now, there's statements on social media that she had orchestrated it. Something else is going on. She has a boyfriend and she ran away with a boyfriend. I think it's okay to state it, but are you sucking this out where the sun doesn't shine? Or have you got some substantiation for what you're saying? And I say that, yes, we can look at what you're saying, but there must be some proof.
That is correct. I just want to correct something. I don't have 15 children. I only have 2 children because môre het die weer uit op Facebook. Ek het 15 kinders. So yeah, but you are right. We need evidence. We have.
I was going to say, is that what we know of? What we know of. No, I'm joking. Before your wife.
Yeah.
No,
no, it's fine.
Yeah.
But you are right. We need to have concrete evidence. We can't just make statements, and that is the reason why we're in a situation that we say goed er is 'n duim uit, and we need to start. You know, the one thing about fixing our community is to speak the truth. We need to be men and women of integrity, and we need to make sure that we have, like I said, concrete evidence. When we do something, I understand people want to know what happened. People feel they have the right, but also we need to do it under such a condition that we know we respect each other. And that is the one thing that we need to exercise, is to respect one another. But Faizal, as we spoke now, this platform is very well known on a Monday night for politics. Politics is something very big on our page. And I don't know how you feel about it. Maybe you have a party that you vote for.
If I know this is live, and so I might as well just ask you. Tell me, is the stream currently running?
Is the stream?
Because I'm now getting messages on my iPad here. Is the stream running currently on your Cape Flat stories page?
Yeah, we are recording it. There's apparently after we've done, I'm gonna post it. So we are recording it onto a hard drive.
I see.
Yeah,
okay.
It's the first time that we are in the studio, so we had a bit of an issue. So I do apologize about that. But as soon as we're done, I will post it.
Okay.
No?
Okay, no issue at all. No, I was.
Yeah, because normally
good. No, I've just been having some inquiries from some people. So
because I also saw, but we are recording it. So as soon as we're done, I will post it, and then everybody will be able to view it, and then we can also watch it after the show.
Yes, of course, no issue.
Then on politics.
Good. So you were delving into politics.
Yeah, politics. What's your take? A lot of politicians are using a lot of these type of stories, or that we just spoke about, to score cheap political points. People are spreading rumors, and people are using the vulnerability of our people to promote themselves. What is your take on politics? What should people look out for? Because we also want to educate people on what to look for. What is it to look for in a political party? What is it to not want to that you must not look for in a political party? Just to give people an idea, what are we really supposed to look for? Just a bit of an education.
Stanley, I think it boils down to leadership. And if I think that our understanding of leadership is a bit different to what leadership should actually be. I know if you take global figures from the past and you just, over the last 1,000 years, just take out certain names where somebody says that man or that lady or that queen or that king was a great leader. And then even maybe in our more recent times, whoever those figures were, some Nobel Peace laureates and those type of things, I'm not sure how much of leadership we actually have today. And I'm not referring to office-bearing titles. It's okay to be the president and the deputy and the minister. But for me, that doesn't always make you a leader. I'm looking for leadership qualities. So I think we have a lack of leadership qualities from the perspective that let's just take an ordinary day in the political world of South Africa. We as South Africans are paying people to sling mud all day. So that means they've got 24 hours in a day of political time that we pay for, and 8 hours of the 9 hours, for example, is being used to mudsling the others and to check what the others are doing. But when do we focus on what we are doing?
Exactly.
So I've learned one thing. My detractors, for example, they sit all day writing up things about me, what's going on. You will never see that I actually use any of their names or I'm involved with them in any way at all. But they spend the entire day doing that. Now, my point is in the political world, that's the same thing. Why aren't we just not focusing on what we need to do? Why don't we focus on what we need to deliver for the people? I've worked out that in the organizations that I'm involved with, about 15 of them, I'm involved with, I think it's 16 now, organizations that I'm either an ambassador for or I work directly for. And that includes stem cell donations, blood donations, cemeteries, as you know, deaf people. So there's a range of things that I spend my time doing. I've realized that all those organizations move at lightning speed because we're not involved with internal politics. We only focus on what we need to do. But the minute we're involved with the politics of politics, then we're no longer involved with what we need to deliver for the people. So so our focus is our opponent and not the end user, as I call it. When is our focus going to be the end user, the person literally on the road, and the simple things that need to be done for people? So I think it's about leadership. Perhaps we need to look at the quality of our leadership.
Yeah, and that is the thing that you are touching actually on a very valuable point, and a very valid point is the leadership. There is something that I've noticed that we don't have. We don't have a lot of. We don't produce leaders anymore. Opportunists, a lot of them are opportunists, and I have to be honest with you. We try to be very honest about these type of things, even in not only in politics but also in the religions institutions as well. There's a lot of opportunists, and this is where we, I think, Faizal, we need to come in and we need to look at our young people. I feel that we are losing our country because of men and women that are not supposed to be in positions. They are in the wrong positions. They're in the right positions, but they are the wrong people. And I think for this reason, we need to look and identify young people. And before we leave this earth and say, okay, at least if we all mentor, young people and sort of take them to the next level, that way we will have more leaders in our community. And so I agree with you. I just want to also touch on, Faizal, you are also a TV show host. I know you have your own show. Just tell us more about that, because I personally haven't. I've checked you out on Facebook and on YouTube, but just tell us more about what I know for a fact that the topics that you cover is also very much relevant on people that is actually robbed communities, like so on. So let me just fix this quickly. Yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. So just tell us more about your TV show.
What the focus is. So yes, so my television career starts back about 20 odd years ago. Then about 17 years ago, I was doing some programs with ETV. Then it moved to the SABC. After that, we started our own TV channel called Dean Channel, Dean TV.
Wow.
But the first show, I think in 2009, started already with Cape Town TV. So the show is recorded independently and supplied to various broadcasters. So till now, we supplied to various broadcasters, but sometimes what you see on social media has not always been put onto screen, and what goes on screen is not always going to social media. Because I live in South Africa, so I'm able to deal with certain issues in Cape Town and that sort of thing. But those issues might not be relevant. For example, if we were supposed to supply BMTV in the UK with a show, then it's not relevant. But my focus is the show was called the Faizal Show for a reason, and that was, Stanley, you mentioned something very critical earlier, and that is that sometimes we want to be perhaps something that we're not, or we perhaps not reaching that authentic self is what I kind of thought that you were reaching. So I'm an advocate for reaching your authentic self. So today I'm in a good mood and I'm fine, and you're going to get exactly that, and we're going to speak along those lines. But did you ever notice people in the media space and social media only need to show the shiny side? And I'm an advocate. I'm anti that. So the time when I'm aggrieved and I sit for 6 months after my mother passed away, I cried every single day, and I made it known to the world. I'm not going to keep a straight face like I'm a member of the royal family and not show you that I'm falling to pieces. I'll tell people when I'm falling to pieces. So the show is exactly that. There are times that I take on activistic stuff, and there's times that I tell feel-good stories. And next week, we're starting the Turkey edition, where we're delving into Turkish history and how it influences global history. And so I'm going to those places to pull all that information back to Cape Town.
Wow. I've actually done some research. There's a lot of information, a lot of history in Turkey that we are not aware of. And I think I will definitely follow you next week when you do go the...
you have to. It's critical.
Yes, because I don't think people understand that there's a lot of... It even connects the Bible to the Quran as well. There's a lot of similarities. And I think that will actually also open our eyes on certain things. So I'm very much looking forward to your trip. But there's just something that you've mentioned, I'm a tough guy. En ek het al skolies gejagal. Ek kan nie nou meer vir hulle sag nie, maar ek het vir hulle gejagal. En ek is tough, but when you lose your mother, you cry for days. When my mother passed away this Sunday, I couldn't help myself. I was just sitting there and I was just crying.
How long is it now?
It's now 3 months.
Oh, it's very short.
It is very short. And I still do. I still do find myself when I look in the mirror and I look at myself, I'm the only child that looks like my mother and my daughter. And when I see her and when I see myself, and it brings up memories. Everything that you do, your mother is there. When you pick up a cup, the way you picked it up, that is how she taught you. The way you tie your shoe, that is what she taught you. And you are right. But the thing about men, South African men that I know of, we don't like to say that we are mourning our mother. We don't like to cry because we want to be a tough guy. And so we grow up and we get used to this trauma. Just more about that, how did... it is still going, I don't think that we're going to ever get to a point where we're going to say, okay, we are now fully healed, because I'm still waiting for her to call me, to ask me to bring a packet of knickknacks or something like that. So how do you cope?
So Stanley, it's too early days for you.
Yeah.
In actual fact, I'm surprised that I'm able to speak this way, because if you were following my journey for more than 2.5 years, I think you could see the performances for the last 2.5 years.
Yeah.
You'll see days that I have made a U-turn, and it was a time in my life I did make a U-turn. I haven't gone to the first year after my mother passed away. I never went back to the office, for example. So everything changed. But you're right about one thing. Why are men putting themselves under the pressure of conforming to appear and look how people expect them to look and feel?
That's right.
I feel that there's a level of falseness in all of that, and you need to reach your authentic self. Are we also saying that a mother is a mother to a daughter and a son? So you only have one mother as a son, and you only have one mother as a daughter.
Yeah.
So do you feel any different when you lose your mother, that you need to perform differently or not speak about it? In actual fact, I think that if men are able to cry for their mothers, I think that we'll have a better society. because we have a society that recognizes the position of the mother. So I just want to roll the tape a little back for you and go to just from an Islamic perspective. You've heard that Muslims say that heaven and paradise that we call Jannah lies at the feet of the mother. Right? I think you must have heard that from Muslims before.
Definitely.
So we firmly believe that. So I need to ask myself today, was I staring it in its face all the time, and now it's not in front of me anymore? And that thought alone should have my mind spinning. It should be able to bring me to my knees on a daily basis. The second thing is, in Islam, we believe that a parent that leaves a righteous child, so a parent that leaves a child and the child continues to do good, that the parent receives that and reaps that reward in the space that they find themselves, wherever you and my mother is right now. Meaning that if you're doing bad and all of that, your parent is seeing that, but if you're doing good. So therefore, Stanley, I've tried my utmost best as my mother closed her eyes to live every day in that purpose, where she's able to every day receive something because her son is doing something. And I'm very afraid to do anything that would displease her. So because I just wouldn't want to disappoint her that way. But coming back to the aspect of men, I think it is time that men actually start speaking about how they feel, because it's only 3 months for you, and I'm certain. So I went to a psychiatrist after my mother passed away. I needed assistance with grief, and I remember telling him that you use this word void all the time. Everyone uses the term void, and there's an emptiness. But I told him that's the closest you can describe it. But the actual word doesn't exist. That hollowness that you feel, I'm certain if I asked you to describe it exactly what it feels like to lose somebody like your mother, you wouldn't be able to describe it.
That's right. And you are right. You are 100% right. It's just a different type of, like I said, different type of a pain. There's not the same. I've lost my grandmother, and I thought that I've lost everything. And when I lost my mother, I feel, but I get no buyer for. And I think, like you say, you need professional help. And it is where I'm currently at. I'm getting myself, I'm seeing somebody. Men don't think that they need help. They think, okay, we have to get over this. We have to work. We have to forget. You're not forgetting about things when you work. You're just leaving it somewhere to pick up later on. And this type of trauma can later on mess up your whole relationship with your children, with your wife, and with those close to you. That's why we need to address this matter urgently. When your parent do pass away, from my experience, the very next week, I told myself, Stan, you work with, because I work in the community, I see a lot of these type of trauma, and I said to myself, I need to go see somebody. And luckily for me, I have quite a few friends that actually assist with this type of counseling. And, it has been, like I say, 3 months now, almost 4 months. But it has helped me a lot. There's a lot of tools that I get that I can, I'm even at the point where I write a journal, every day just to say how I feel. And it helps a lot. It helps because there's times when you remember something from when you were young. And when you write it down, you realize, but okay, my maat met hy geleer. And it's actually memories that is coming back to you, that is visiting you, that you're now reminiscing, So you are so right, Faizal, when you say we need help. And it's not going to be easy. I can tell you now, it's getting more difficult for me.
So I just want to pick up a little bit more on that, Stanley. And that is that, I read a book some years ago. I think the book is actually somewhere in this room. I'm not sure. There's a bit of a library on the side here, which you can't see. But the book was called Self Matters by Dr. Phil. And Dr. Phil, the book Self Matters, talks about the authentic self and reaching the authentic self. And what I learned out of this book was that he sort of described human beings to be. Okay, let's just roll the tape a bit back. Let's just say when you were growing up as a young man, and this happens quite frequently in the Cape Flats and anywhere in the world for that matter, but you'll notice that blue is for boys, pink is for girls. And that's where it starts. Then later on, as we develop, this type of hairstyle gold teeth, whatever it might be, wherever you are.
Yes, yes.
So you start forming a particular picture. And then it's, well, if you drive a BMW and a Mercedes Benz, now you're fitting in. And so the rest of society will see you a certain way and all of that. So we start putting on all these layers.
Yeah.
So you can see this onion with all these layers on it. And this is what the package at society made you sound a certain way, made you look a certain way, and act a certain way. But in the middle of the night, in your room, when you're alone, is that really you? And that's the question.
Yes,
yes. And the question is that really you, or is that the picture society wanted you to be? And when you strip away all those layers, and you're able to strip away those layers and not care about any of that, they say that you reach your authentic self, that you don't need to care anymore whether you need to drive a certain car or look a certain way or sound a certain way. So, Stanley, that's one of the things I try to do, is I try to reach that authentic self, because you know what? It's a very stress-free environment. If you are stressed continually by what people expect from you, you're going to be the most stressed out person on the planet. So I think that human beings must try and release themselves from that. And one of that is grief. And I think that we all become aggrieved and we all feel sad. And if we need to feel sad and cry, that's a human condition. And I'm not, especially after the passing of my mother. In actual fact, if she's looking at me today, I wanted to see her crying, me crying for her. I don't want her to know that I didn't cry about it. I'm not crying about it. I know there's nothing she can do about it, but you know what? I cry about it every day, and I really don't care if anyone thinks about it and what they think about it. I really don't care.
And I think that is the mentality that we should have, is we don't have to fit into anybody's, book or what they think of us, because people have this thing, you should look a certain way, you should speak a certain way. And I think that is the problem that we have, is society have set up, levels of where you should be, where I should be, and we should break that down, because that's the biggest, nonsense that we have allowed into our communities. Like, we should be acting according to a certain, race. We should be acting according to a certain standard for us. And that is what we need to break down, because that is where our people stay. We don't really move forward. We don't really move, in a direction. Not that all of us, but a lot of us. Because we, ons is gesê, ons gaat werk in Pick n Pay. Ons gaan na vir altyd werk as a cashier, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong starting there. But we don't always want to start there. We want to actually move up. We need to start at Pick n Pay, but we need to end up as an engineer, as a doctor. And that is where we need to look, that is where we need to be in the next couple of years,
So I'm happy that you're mentioning that, because here's the thing. It is about people boxing themselves and seeing a limit and a capacity in what they can do. So I have to thank my mother all the time for what I do, because she was somebody that would tell you that you can do anything that you think you can. And I believe that is prevalent for any human being. Anything that you imagine you can be. But you know what's this one line, Stanley, that we worry about? That's the biggest problem in our life. It's a prison. There's a prison called what will the people think and say. That's a prison. You need to come out of that prison. To hell with what they think and say. In actual fact, when you decide you're going to wear an orange swirlcase, for example, you'll see it. Be rest assured, it's only a few weeks down the line till everyone else is wearing an orange swirlcase. But the point is, we must become those trendsetters. We don't need to follow. It's as simple as that.
There we go. And I love how you ended it. We need to become trendsetters. We have too much followers. We have too much people, following a certain trend. We need to set their trends, and we need to set high standards for ourselves as well. But So,
sorry, I just want to tell up with something. Did you ever notice that that people will come to you and they'll tell you, why didn't you do something a certain way? And so why didn't you do it like that? Why must you do it that way? But if you ask those people, so someone will come to me and they'll watch the program, whether it's on Cape Town TV or whoever's playing the series at the time, and they'll say, but so why did you take this approach? I don't understand. Why are you doing that? And why didn't you do it this way and the other? But I then ask myself, have you ever sat on this side asking those questions. For example, if I climb onto to SAA tonight to fly somewhere, can I walk into the cockpit all the time and ask the pilot, I just want to understand, why didn't you let the flaps out halfway through the flight?
Yeah.
Why are you letting the flaps out now? I'm not in the position to ask that. But the point I'm making is that sometimes we're too determined by other people, and we need to start determining ourselves. We need to define our own purposes. I believe, Stanley, that everybody inside of us right now have a certain fire that's burning in your chest to be a certain way, to be doing what you want to do in this world. But why isn't it? Why are we allowing other people to extinguish that fire? That fire is yours. You need to keep that fire burning till it burns everything down in its way. And that's what you need to do.
True. And you are right. We are all created uniquely. We're not created the same. And because, nobody in the world will ever have your fingerprints. That is what scientists tell us. That is what history has taught us. And I mean, for that reason, that should be an indication that we are unique and we are different. And like you say, we've become like, following other trends, following other people. And because of that, we can see that this is why the country is also looking the way it's looking, because everybody is following a certain, trend, and we are following a certain way of living. We are not living a purposeful life. We need to live a purposeful life where, when we one day pass away, then I can say, I lived as Stanley Jacobs, or I lived as Faizal, and that is what we also need to tell our young people. But we have come also to the end now. Ons het baie gepraat. And unfortunately, we didn't go live, but this video will go live hopefully tomorrow or so, and I'll broadcast it. But ek wil hê jy moet in Afrikaans vir ons praat, because baie mense het gesê, ek moet laat Faizal in Afrikaans praat. So Afrikaans is nou jou taal nou vir die next 2 of 3 minute. Faizal, praat 'n bietjie saam met my Afrikaans.
So Stanley, there's only 1 or 2 lines that I want to say. And my friends dared me to say it on this interview, right? And I said it last week to people. People ask me, how do you deal with your enemies? So you're going to notice one thing in your life. The more you climb any ladder, the more those flies are going to start coming. So if you will allow me, and you can beep it out if you want to, I just wanted to say the one line, and that is, people ask, what do I say to my enemies? And I always tell them, confront escapes. That's all. And that's the line that I use, because I'm not going to be determined by anybody. And that's exactly what they can go and do.
Wow. And you are right. Sometimes
I'm not going to say more than that.
But you are right. Sometimes we just need to also tell our enemies what to do. We don't owe our enemies any information or anything. They decided to be our enemies. They decided.
You open that discussion. I want to ask you a quick question. Right? Why would your enemies come onto your pages trying to tell you what to do? What stupid person will take advice from the enemies?
True.
You can never take the advice from the enemy. Logically, you can't.
True.
They're there to break you down.
That's right.
And it's time we don't. I just want to leave you with one thing in conclusion, if that's okay.
Sure.
I just think it's time that we define what life is. I think we got the wrong idea of what life is. I think that we think, if I ask you, what's your life about? You tell me, oh, it's about the children. Your life is the car you drive. The life is the work that you have. Stanley, I don't actually think that that's life. I think that all that we surrounded ourselves with, all this rubbish in this world we surrounded ourselves with, is not life itself. We need to start thinking that life is that which beats here in our chest. If this stops beating, then everything stops.
That's right.
The minute this stops, everything stops. So we need to preserve this in 2 ways, the spiritual heart and the physical heart. We need to look after ourselves. We need to, because when this stops, it all stops. So I think that we need to define our life as that and be appreciative of the fact that we're breathing and that our time will come to an end. Many people, Stanley, my mother's gone 1,000 days. Just a few days after 1,000 days. I don't know if you recall when my mom passed away, but it feels like yesterday. So for us to understand time, we must not look at time that is coming in front of us. If I was to tell you, Stanley, go study another degree, you're going to tell me another 4 years, you must be mad. But if I tell you to look at 1,000 days behind my back right now, It's gone in a blink of an eye.
That's right.
Your mother's gone 3 months already. Do you know what's actually happened? Your mother is exactly where you left your mother 3 months ago.
That's right.
Time has come to an end for her. But it is you that went 3 months closer to your mother. I'm 1,000 days closer to leaving this world.
Wow.
So we need to start thinking about that which beats in our chest and not define life with all of this that's around us, but understand while this is beating, we're alive, we need to take every minute and make it count.
And that is so deep. You know, Faizal, just also to end off, you know, when our mothers passed away, I don't know if you also experienced this, all of a sudden, you are now worried about time and how I am going to do things. And it's like almost you don't have a lot of time. Every time I go to the grave, there's somebody that is laying next to my mother. That person wasn't there last week or the week before. Every time somebody is moved. And that actually indicates to me, our time is running out. And what are we doing? You know, my mother's death actually, you know, sort of made me more productive in my life. Am I doing good? Am I really helping people? Am I doing it for publicity, or am I doing it, you know, to really help people?
For the first time, I'm sure for the first time you really understood what death was.
That's right.
I think before this, everyone else was dying.
No.
It was just a concept.
That's right.
Everybody dies. But now that it's this close, now it's changing the way that you see the world because it's that real. But Stanley, I want to leave you with something if I can.
Sure.
And that is that, did you ever realize that your mother and my mother had taught us everything in this world besides how to live without them?
That's true.
And that's a very difficult thing to swallow. And I want to leave your audience with that our parents have taught us everything in this world besides how to live without it. I think you and I, Stanley, are standing on another side of the fence, and people don't know what it is until they come on the side. So the important thing is that they start appreciating each other. And I think South Africans need to start appreciating each other for us to become a better world.
Yeah.
That's where we really need to start.
Yeah. Faizal, and you're so right. But I want to say thank you to you so much for making time to be with me tonight. It's, you know, you're one of my heroes.
And I'm going to be inviting you onto my show.
Definitely. But I just want to say it's always nice having you, or nice having you, having my hero on my page. And I didn't say this to you before, but even having you on my WhatsApp now, you kyk na my hero's profile elke dag. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being a hero to the Cape Flats like and I will follow you, and I'm sure I can learn a lot from you still. Thank you so much, Faizal.
And likewise. Thank you, Stanley.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Was 'n bietjie van 'n ander chat gewees, but thank you so much for joining us. It was nice having you guys with us. And you know, follow Faizal's site on his Facebook pages, and make sure that you like his page and follow it. And also, there's a lot that we can learn from him, and, you know, also contribute. But thank you, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Cheers.